Hey everyone, I decided I'm gonna start reading the Bible again. I haven't read this thing like front to back in years. It's been years, like at least 10 years. I'm 21. It's been like 10 years, so it's been a really long time, front to back anyway. I've definitely looked into it, here and there throughout the years, but front to back, it's been forever. Um, so the reason I want to do this is because I was raised Christian. I was raised in a Christian home, and I believed the Bible. Like I was a born again, diehard Christian. Would fight for my faith and all this and that. But as I got older, as reality had like crazy life events happened and things that like really tested my faith. It forced me, and as I became educated through our school system, it forced me to reevaluate my beliefs. And I honestly turned away from all of this because I didn't feel like it was resonating within me anymore. I felt like it wasn't fulfilling. I felt like I had unanswered questions, and I'm glad I did. I turned away. I learned a hell of a lot about myself and about who I really am and my individuality and like all kinds of stuff. I've looked into Buddhism. I've looked into Zen, meditating. I've looked into just different various forms of mystical, extreme approaches to obtaining spiritual experiences, that 90% of society probably doesn't agree with, and it definitely shows in some of the laws we have against such methods. However, I will always stand by those methods because they showed me more about myself than anything else I've ever experienced. So, anyway, um, now I feel like the time has come for me to read the Bible again, though, because I don't feel like I can come to a common ground with a lot of my Christian friends that I have because I haven't read this thing in so long. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read this Bible and read it with an open mind, using all of the knowledge I've accumulated thus far in life. And it's basically going to be awesome because I feel like I have a mature enough perspective on life now to really wrap my brain around this and be able to communicate clearly and effectively what I believe, um, through this lens. So, yeah. Also, I'm going to be reading from the Complete Jewish Bible. It's right here. It was translated by David H. Stern. The reason I'm reading through this Bible is because it's the purest Bible I've come across. The Old Testament, as the Christians call it, was written in Hebrew originally, and it contains the original Tanakh in it. Well, of course, not the original, but it's a copy of the original Tanakh, which was derived specifically from the original Hebrew texts. Problem with a lot of Old Testament context these days is that scholars created a context based on discoveries they made in other texts that weren't the original text. So it was really just kind of manipulated and abused, not necessarily abused, just manipulated to suit what they wanted it to say rather than what it originally said. So I don't know. I think the Tanakh is a lot more pure, and it really shows more of what the culture was back then, um, and then the New Testament in this is pulled from some of the most agreed upon Greek manuscripts, but it was translated directly from Greek to English. He didn't take it from a second-hand English source. It was definitely translated directly from Greek. Now, there was over 5,000 Greek manuscripts, and some of them are conflicting. So, overall, too, I think it's important to realize that things get lost in translation. You know, our version is by no means going to be the perfect Hebrew version, and the Greek versions of the New Testament are definitely, you know, there's just no way to fully appreciate and understand the original context of the situations here. I mean, that's why when I read the Bible, I look at it from a metaphorical standpoint, from a very open-minded standpoint, because I really don't know what was going on back then, and it's 2,000 years later. It's like crazy how much has changed since then. So, and also there's words in the Hebrew language that literally cannot be translated, and they're found in the original context of the Tanakh. So honestly, I think that, you know, it really takes a very, very powerful open mind to be able to truly grasp what they're trying to say, and to ponder and wonder what's going on here, because really it's such a foreign culture. It's so far out compared to what we experience here. You can't possibly begin to take it literally without trying to, you know, really explore your mind and openness. So there's that, and then I want to give an example of the difference between the Masoretic text, which is the original Hebrew text, versus the Old Testament that most Christians are used to reading from. So, for example, in Psalm 22, verse 17 of Jewish versions reads, "Like a lion at my hands and feet," while the corresponding verse 16 of Christian version says, "They pierced they pierced my hands and feet." This passage prophesies Yeshua's crucifixion, as Messianic Jews and Christians believe it does. The prophecy is certainly clearer in the Christian versions, since the Brit Hadashah reports that Yeshua's hands and feet were nailed to the execution stake, as the complete Jewish Bible calls the cross, but says nothing about lions at his hands and feet. How can two such different meanings arise from the same text? They don't. The texts are different. The Masoretic text has the Hebrew word ka'ari, like a lion, while the Christian versions make use of the Septuagint, where the Greek word implies an underlying Hebrew text with the word karu, they pierced. The difference is the presence in the Masoretic Hebrew of the letter aleph and of the end of the letter yud instead of vav are both easily explainable as scribal errors in one direction or the other. In this case, as in virtually all cases, the CJB adheres to the Masoretic text, but a footnote gives the alternative rendering and refers to this paragraph of the introduction. There are hundreds of similar differences, although a few are as important for Messianic understanding of the Bible. In general, I have not indicated where these differences are, because that is outside the scope of my purposes in preparing the complete Jewish Bible. So yeah, basically, in a nutshell, the Christian versions pull from the Septuagint. Scholars use other texts and other influences as well in their translations, so things get lost in translation. And this was pulled directly from Masoretic text, which was like as close to the original as you can possibly get. So there you have it. This is the complete Jewish Bible. It's also formatted differently. It's one line across instead of two columns, and they do that in order to really, really display how the poetry is supposed to be exhibited, and not like certain lines in the original Christian text get split, and this doesn't allow for that. Like one line, if it's supposed to be one line, it's going to be one line. It's not going to split into two. That way, it really exemplifies how the poetry is supposed to be received. Also, the order of books is different. He groups it differently than the Christians do. Because that's how the Tanakh is. The Hebrew Bible is divided into three parts: the Torah, the prophets, and the writings. Torah and Nevi'im, which is prophets, Ketuvim, which is writings. And the order is also going to be different of the books. And also, there's less books in the Tanakh because a lot of the books are combined, like Kings and Samuel, and the 12 minor prophets are all combined because their books are so short. So, yeah, just a few little formatting things. So yeah, and they also use a lot of all the Hebrew names rather than the Christian versions of those names in order to try and capture the essence of what is really being said here. So yeah, as I go through the Bible, I'm also going to be really just dissecting different things that I think are important, that I think there's a lot of maybe disagreement on or debate on. I'm also going to incorporate my beliefs into this because, honestly, the way I see this now is probably going to be different than 99% of you watching these videos. So just keep that in mind because I see the world just in a really, really enlightened way, to be blunt and to be honest. Like, I've experienced crazy, crazy, crazy things, and I'll get into those as I feel led to. But yeah, it's really all I have right now. I'm probably just gonna jump right into Genesis, front to back, start with it. So, yep, here we go.